Biden eked out a win over Trump in Georgia in 2020. Can a surging Harris do the same? Once again, Georgia is a battleground that much Democrats and Republicans seem to agree on. The path to the White House runs right through this state, Vice President Kamala Harris said at a July 30 rally in Atlanta. Former President Trump echoed her sentiment 4 days later with his trademark gloom. If we lose Georgia, we lose the whole thing, and our country goes to hell. A month ago, the prospect of a close presidential race seemed unlikely in this once conservative southern stronghold, where President Biden delivered a historic victory for Democrats in 2020. This time, he was lagging in the polls, and his performance in an Atlanta debate against Trump in June raised troubling questions about his age and mental competence. But when he stepped aside on July 21 and endorsed Harris, Democrats encountered a groundswell of grassroots enthusiasm. Georgia is in play, said Denise Hollingsworth, a retired attorney who moved to Georgia from New Jersey last year and started phone banking for Harris when a new campaign office opened in East Point, GA. Statewide, more than 35,000 new volunteers have joined the campaign in the last few weeks to take part in Callan for Kamala phone banks, Harris for the People letter writing parties, and Kamala coconut canvassing, according to a campaign spokesperson. Hollingsworth said the experience had been so overwhelmingly positive that she thinks Harris has a chance at winning. "I don't know if I'm too caught up in the mix or have drunk the Kool-Aid," she said, laughing. "I'm just so encouraged seeing America come alive and be so excited that she's offering something different." Of course, many conservatives are equally inspired by Donald Trump, and a small but significant chunk of left-leaning and independent voters have not been won over by Harris' broad themes of freedom and "we're not going back," or by the framing of her and her running mate, Minnesota Gov. Tim Walz, as joyful warriors. They want to know more about Harris' agenda. In Alpharetta, a rapidly developing and diversifying stretch of exurbia about 30 miles north of Atlanta, where Democrats have gained traction in recent years, many voters interviewed by the Times, even those who have voted for Democrats, voiced hesitation about Harris and said they did not know enough about her. "I know, like, the memes, but I don't know her political stances," said Tanisha Coe, a 22-year-old student and retail worker, noting she had seen clips of Harris laughing on TikTok and references to coconut trees. "Why hasn't she done any interviews?" asked Shakil Ahmed, an IT project manager formerly of Bangladesh, who voted for Biden in 2020 but is leaning toward Trump. "It is a little odd that Kamala doesn't have a lot of her views on her website," said Thomas Lee, a 43-year-old manager for a tech company. "You're running for president and you can't just state some clear opinions about where you stand on things." Harris is slowly unveiling more details about her agenda. On Friday, she outlined more specifics of her economic policy at a rally in North Carolina, pledging to push for the construction of 3 million new housing units and for a federal ban on price gouging on groceries. Persuading undecided voters is key for Democrats in a tight race. In polling averages compiled by 538.com, Harris leads in Georgia by a fraction of a percentage point, a significant turnaround considering Trump's comfortable lead of 5.9 percentage points against Biden, but well within the margin of error. 4 years ago, Biden won Georgia by fewer than 12,000 votes, the closest margin of any state. Biden's victory here in 2020, the first time Georgia had voted for a Democratic president in nearly 3 decades, followed a decade of outreach from grassroots voter mobilization groups seeking to capitalize on shifting demographics as a growing number of Asian Americans, Latino, and Black people moved to the state. But the result also relied on deep-seated frustration with Trump among affluent, college-educated, and older voters in Atlanta's suburbs and exurbs. "There are people in Georgia who aren't locked into a partisan way of thinking," said Jason Carter, an attorney, former Democratic gubernatorial candidate and grandson of Jimmy Carter, the former president and governor. In 2022, the younger Carter noted, Georgia re-elected Republican Gov. Brian Kemp and Democratic U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock. "The key challenge is that people get to know her and really earn the votes," he said of Harris. With just 2.5 months left to make their case, Trump and Harris are scrambling to connect with Georgia voters and claim the state's 16 electoral votes.